More than 13 years after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, countering the scourge of terrorism remains a global priority. But the terrorist threat today is fundamentally different than the one the world faced on 9/11. Terrorism today is increasingly transnational, geographically dispersed, and ideologically diverse. Here are 3 things you need to know about the state of global efforts to combat transnational terrorism. The first thing to know is that terrorist organizations have proliferated since 9/11, but they're not all cut from the same cloth. Al-Qaeda Central, now led by Osama bin Laden's successor, Ayman al-Zawahiri, still aims to attack the West, but groups that are loosely affiliated with Al-Qaeda, like Boko Haram in Nigeria, al-Shabab in Somalia, and Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, are more focused on their own neighborhoods than the West. Even ISIS was originally more interested in establishing a caliphate in Iraq and Syria than it was in attacking the West. Each of these groups has a unique history, and the local circumstances that allowed them to flourish differ from one case to another. We tend to speak about terrorists as if they were some homogeneous entity, but the reality is far more complex. The second thing to know is that the number of foreign fighters who are traveling to Iraq and Syria is unprecedented. It's estimated that more than 20,000 foreign fighters have joined ISIS or other extremist groups. That's higher than the number we saw in Afghanistan in the 1980s. Most come from the Middle East and North Africa, but in fact more than 3,000 are Westerners. Cracking down on the transit of foreign fighters became a global priority in September of last year. That's when President Obama chaired a special session of the UN Security Council, which was devoted exclusively to the foreign fighter phenomenon. Since then, countries have stepped up efforts to prevent would-be terrorists from going abroad or returning home, but it hasn't been enough. The Middle East still has porous borders and weak rule of law, and slick propaganda that's being put out by ISIS continues to attract a steady flow of recruits. The recruitment of Western fighters underscores the importance of countering ISIS propaganda and preventing radicalization. Now that leads us to the third thing to know. Countering violent extremism, or CVE, is gaining importance. CVE involves any number of community outreach and communications initiatives that try to discredit terrorist narratives and address the social, economic, and political conditions that are conducive to the spread of extremism. Efforts to prevent radicalization are especially urgent in light of a recent uptick in so-called lone wolf attacks in the West. A range of government initiatives and NGOs are pioneering efforts to mainstream CVE within the broader counterterrorism policy, and they're gaining traction. This month, the White House will host the first ever summit on countering violent extremism. These initiatives should give room for optimism, but they aren't a cure-all. It's too early to tell, for instance, whether CVE programs are even effective, and many question whether it's appropriate for Western governments in particular to speak about matters of religion, especially Islam.